All right, there we go. Finally, we are live with Mr. Ed Hade. Welcome, everybody. Rob Provencher here, recording a FrontLine webinar, March 2016, down in Costa Rica. Ed is all the way from Georgia. And we got Ernie and Marion as well in the background, the A-Team Tech team. And I found Ed, actually, he was one of the guys who submitted images on the last Brian DeMint print critique creative cross-training seminar webinar that we have every month or every 6 weeks with Brian. And for some reason, somehow we got this dialogue going. We tried a few times to get a webinar going, and we just could not get through the technical glitches, but we are here live, and I'm excited. So Ed, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm really pumped. So I always like to sort of weave through these interviews, discovering a little bit of what you're all about, what your photography is all about, what you're doing with your photography. So maybe we can start with just sort of a quick bio. What got you into photography? And you can maybe lead that question up with an answer that brings us to what you're doing in photography now. So we sort of get a bit of an idea of what you're all about. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, that's fine. Great. I got started a long time ago. I was a teenager. My dad had a camera. My dad had darkroom stuff. When I was a teenager, I had a darkroom in my bedroom. I used his stuff. But it was expensive. I couldn't afford to do it. And moved way ahead to the advent of digital, like everybody else, photography became more affordable.
Right.
You know, you can spend more money on gear because not all that film and processing goes away.
Yeah.
So that's when I got a lot more serious about it, and
oh, okay. So
it's a lot more fun.
I got to ask you a quick side question. Darkroom, bedroom, what era was that? Give me a decade.
That was around 1970.
Oh,
70,
okay.
no, that's about 70, 73. I was just out of high school.
You got some history.
All
right.
Yeah. I'm 60 years old.
Okay, well, you're just a baby. I mean, Marion's like 89 or something like that.
He's 6 right now.
But so you've been in it for a long time, since high school. Did you weave away from it for a while, and then digital sort of pulled you back in?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was basically poor most of my life, so I couldn't do it. I was always interested in it. I always loved artwork, and all that, but it wasn't affordable.
So digital got you, it just lowered the whole, barrier to entry, and it made it way more accessible.
Yeah. I was older, more established in life, had a little extra money to spend. So
yeah.
And I've gotten into it even more since I've got divorced, and I don't have a wife telling me I can't buy stuff anymore. So.
Freedom, free at last. No, but this is important because you're doing a lot, and we're going to talk about what you've been doing and the stuff that you've been doing with your photography. It's interesting to note too that you have a full-time job. I believe you're an engineer or something. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I work for a large floor covering manufacturer here in North Georgia. I work in the engineering department. My background is when I was poor, it was poor because I was just a welder most of my life, and then I learned how to use AutoCAD and learned how to use a computer.
Oh, cool.
And started teaching self-taught on AutoCAD, and finally put out resumes. And my background being a welder and knowing all about the equipment we use in this town went a long way for me getting a job drawing pictures. So I call myself a picture drawer now.
Well, that's cool. So you got a pretty good technical background. It sounds like you're the kind of guy who's not afraid to get out there and learn stuff, pick up new things, and master the technology and create some art out of it as well. And I say that in reference to my first contact with you was through, like I mentioned, Brian DeMint, which we'll show some of those images later because they were pretty good. They were pretty creative, if I remember correctly. They were pretty artistic. So, and they received some pretty positive words from Brian. So. But let's talk about your screenshot. We see your garage, it looks like. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about
my fancy studio.
Yeah, tell us about your fancy studio, quote unquote. It looks pretty cool.
Well, it's a one-car garage in that it has a one door, but it's pretty big. It's got 10-foot ceilings. It's pretty wide. There's more room down there than you would have in a typical one-car garage, and it's pretty deep too. So, and you can see in my background, I got more tools in here than Lowe's. You know, but it's all stashed away out of the way right now. But yeah, I just decided to set it up and take some pictures of my dog. And so I got my old painter's drop cloth that I had. I just decided, oh, wow, I can use this for a backdrop, and I did. And just set up what little lights I've got. I only had speed lights at the time that I set this up. And I've got the little Apollo Orbs softbox. I really like it.
Yeah.
And my lighting equipment's pretty simple, except just recently I made a big step and got me a new Indra 500. So I'm really excited to get started doing some stuff with that. I only used it once so far.
What's an Indra 500? It sounds like
the Photox Indra 500.
Yeah.
It's a 500 watt second strobe with battery pack and.
Oh, it's pretty powerful.
Kind of like a cheaper version of the ProPhoto B1.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I've never heard of that brand before. I use Alien Bees myself. So have you guys, Ernie or Marion, have you heard of that brand?
Yes, I have. I mean, if you go up on eBay or flashhavoc.com,
cool.
You can eventually, it leads you to those, to those models. It's
Nice.
a pretty good one.
Okay, cool.
It's a pretty good one.
Good. That's good to know. When you mentioned Pro Photo, which is a top of the line sort of model, it's kind of good to know that there's stuff that is probably not as expensive, but almost as good. All right. So, do you do a lot of shooting in this garage, or are you doing most of your stuff on location?
Yeah, most on location. I've only shot a few times in here. I shoot my nieces, family members. They'll come over. I don't like go out and hire models and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got some very beautiful nieces. We'll see some pictures of my nieces here pretty soon.
I just want to mention something before. I want to show the images from the Brian DeMint critique, if we can get into that. But you have a garage. There's Alicia Birch from Australia has exactly the same situation that you have going on. She has a garage part of her house. And she's converted it to an all-out, full-blown portrait studio, and she does amazing amounts of business out of there. It's really kind of cool to see. When you think about how limited the space is for her, but the whole point being that, you can do a lot with a little. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I've seen what you're talking about. People take a garage smaller than this and set it up really nice. And my problem is I do everything in this garage. I work on my car.
Yeah.
The lawnmower's just off the screen to the left, and all that stuff. And
I hear you.
I still have to have it function as that. And I still got 2 welders in here, a plasma cutter, a lathe, and all my other tools. So if I want to do projects, I can.
This is a real man's garage and studio. He's got a plasma cutter. All right, cool. Let's. Can we show those images of that you submitted?
The one from Brian?
That would be cool.
Yeah, let me see if I can find them here. Where were we with this one here? Oh, this one here. And let me see if I can find them. I think they were up this way. You see them, holler.
You don't happen to...
there's one of them right there.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That one, I think it was the second or third one. And Brian loved it.
Yeah, because it's a little different,
Yeah.
I consider it an abstract.
Yeah. But it works.
But it looks like a sunset to me. And I just happened to be walking in the local community center. I was actually on a photography challenge we were doing with the photo club here. And I was looking for something different, and I saw this reflection on the floor. This is actually the floor of the room.
Okay.
And that crack is a crack in the floor. It's a concrete floor that is colored. So the colors are not really been manipulated much here at all.
Oh, really? That's cool.
I increased the yellow on the sun because it was more white, and I wanted it to be yellow. So that's about the only color change there is here. And That's pretty much all it is a shot of reflection on the floor.
That's pretty cool when you just sort of spot these little scenes and you can grab a cool image from it. So that's the sun reflecting on concrete.
No, it's actually a light above.
Okay.
This is indoors.
Oh, okay. Well, you mentioned sun. I thought maybe it was. But either or.
Yeah, it looks like the sun.
It certainly does, yeah. Cool. It's very, very well done. It's very cool. And it does look abstract-y and very artistic. So what was the other image, too? Was it...
let me see if we can find that one. It was this one here. It's a little dark on my screen. I don't know how it looks on yours. Maybe I don't know if I brighten up my screen, does it brighten up your screen?
It'll brighten up, yeah, because we're picking up your screen. But it looks pretty good here. How does it look at your end, Marion or Ernie?
It looks the same from that night that Ryan was critiquing them.
Yeah, you were there. You guys were there.
I sat and watched. I listened.
Brian,
the funny thing about... Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say Brian's always a hoot, but...
Yeah, Brian liked it. But anyway, the funny thing about this image, everybody looks at it, thinks that's the moon up there.
Yeah.
And no, this is shot in the daytime. That's the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the one and only time I got to visit Death Valley. For my job, my company sent me out to Vegas to do training for my job. And I took some time off and shot around to Death Valley. And it turned out it was like the first day they'd had rain there in over a year. And so they said the clouds never show up here, and I end up on a cloudy, rainy day on my only day in Death Valley. So I couldn't get the grand vistas I was wanting because it was all just hazy and cloudy. Yep. So I focused on something smaller. This bush is about 4 feet wide and about 3 feet high.
Okay. Is there a flash on there too?
Yes, there's actually multiple exposures here. Oh. I took multiple flashes. I just handheld my flash and walked around the bush, lighting different parts of it, and then layered them up in Photoshop and blended the ones I wanted till I got the lighting.
Oh, okay. That's why it looks so surreal. So you had the camera on a tripod, and you would take one exposure with a flash on one area, then you would take another exposure flash lit on another area, and you did this several times over and over.
Yep.
And just seamed them all together or overlapped them all together and erased and or blended as you needed the detail to pop through.
Yeah, all I had was a single speed light with no modifiers. So when I did the first shot with a speed light, the light looked actually two-directional. Since I have light behind it, it just didn't look right. And if I tried to light it from behind it, it looked like, and I wanted the sun in there. So I ended up lighting it multiple times.
Yeah, it's very cool. What kind, people are always asking, they always want to know tech talk, what lens and what cameras do you use?
Right now I have a D800, and for this, I was probably using a 24-70.
Okay, cool.
I don't remember. I think so. I would think that's what I had on here.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I started with a D70. Nikon D70, and then I graduated to a D300, and I waited forever for the D500, and it didn't come out, so I ended up with a D800. 800's
a good camera. I got to tell you something, though. The 700s are even, in many ways, better, even though the file sizes are smaller.
Yeah, the D750 came out after I bought this.
Not 750, 700. Came out in 2000.
Oh, the 700?
There's an actual cult following around the D700. There are people who are coveting those models because they are so good at reproducing, mostly for portraiture, it seems. I'm not sure about this kind of stuff, but it does such an exquisite job on weddings and portraits and what have you. And I never realized this up until about 8 months ago, and Judy Cormier I was talking to her, and she's like, yeah, I shoot with two D8-700s. I'm like, really? Those things are old. And then she explained it to me, and I was like, who knew? And then I thought about it, and I thought, some of my best samples in my studio, I went and looked at them, and I thought, yeah, those were shot with a D700. I still have them on my walls because I really like the look. Anyways, I'm getting off track, and I'm hogging the show here. So
I find that fascinating that you could tell one camera from the other that much.
Well, here's the thing.
My eyes are probably not trained that well.
Well, here's the thing. I never could until I connected the dots, and only within the last year. But I'll tell you right now, if I showed you an image with the 700 or a couple images, and then I showed you a very similar, say, studio type situation, very similar lighting, you would see it. And it's just like I never clued into it before. But if you do a little bit of research, or if you're looking for a really good portrait camera, if you can find them used, some good D700s. They're only 12 megapixels, but I've made 40-inch prints easy with those. It's a good little camera. So there's it's like one of those movies that comes out and it's sort of like not a big deal, and then 10 years later it's got a cult following, and so it's creating this bit of a cult following. Ernie, what were you going to say?
Well, you normally shoot JPEG in the studio, so I wonder. I mean, from that perspective, I could see it being a lot different from JPEG of a D700 to JPEG of a D800 or whatever, because they're doing some processing there, right? As opposed to simply.
I'm not sure. The people that I know that shoot in love with the 700 shoot RAW, but I personally, my opinion is it doesn't matter. It's just got certain abilities. There's something about that camera. So, anyways.
Yeah, I actually followed Eddie's path, or Ed's path. I had a D70S, and then I went to a D300S, and then I went to the D700 though.
Okay.
And now I got that in the 7100 too.
Well, don't get rid of your 700. It's a good camera, as well as the 800, which is what Ed's using now, and I use it as well. Good little camera. So, yeah, let's get into some more images, Ed. If you have some.
All right, let's see what we got here. Let's start at the.
Show us what you've been.
Start at the beginning. You go through here.
Sure, whatever you got. I don't know. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and.
Yeah, I'll just go through, like, this is out in my front yard. I was mowing the grass, and I saw these mushrooms out there, and I thought, wow, look, they got color. I've never seen them in my yard like that, so I had to go get the camera and take a picture of it.
Get the camera.
Thing is, get the camera. And I just thought they looked cool, but they weren't arranged properly. They weren't exactly, they show here, so I cheated. I went back in the house, got a toothpick, picked one of the mushrooms, stuck the toothpick in the ground, and stuck the mushroom on the toothpick so they would be just right next to each other. It looked a lot better.
You're allowed to do that, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Some people think you're not. I've run into people who go, well, you can't. Yeah, you can. You can move that log out of the stream if you don't like it there.
Yeah. Some people would think you're a little nutty for doing that, but whatever. They just don't understand.
Yeah. I got several images from an event I just did this last weekend, which was really fun. It was down at the Booth Western Art Museum in Cartersville, Georgia, and they have a thing called the Great Cowboy Gathering. It's a Western style. People come all dressed up in Western wear and bring their chuck wagons, which are old style wagons, and it's a cook-off of Western style chuck wagon food. And it was really great. So many good-looking characters. I didn't even know about it. I just happened to be down there for something else, and so I got out the camera, and this is the first time I got to use my Indra, Photix Indra 500, and I put it in my Apollo Orb and had a friend of mine walk around and use that. So
this.
And I tried to make. Go ahead.
This is a big studio light, is it?
Yeah, it's a 500 watt second light.
And you're using it out on location. Do you have like a battery pack or something?
Yeah, it's got, see, instead of the Pro Photo or say the Flashpoint, what is it in Godox, I think they all have a battery built into it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't want that because that battery built into it makes it really heavy, and I like to do a light on a stick thing.
Okay.
And have someone walk around with a light on a stick. Well, that way the battery sits on your side. It's got a wire going up to it.
Nice.
But it's a whole lot easier for somebody to hold and walk around with.
Okay, so I keep thinking of the Alien B. What's it called, guys? Gives you 120.
Yeah, the battery pack for that.
Yeah, what's it called again?
I don't know. It's got a funny color to it. I can remember that.
It's black. Ernie, you know what it's called, Vagabond. And you can bring
Vagabond and Vagabond Mini.
Yeah, you can bring studio lighting on location. So is that similar to what that particular unit is? And can you tell me the name of it again? I'm Googling it.
It's a Photix Indra 500.
How do you spell that? F-O-T-I-X?
P-H-O-P-H-O-T-T-I-X.
I knew it. There's 2 T's. It's throwing me off. Odin 500. Indra, there it is.
Yeah.
I thought I knew everything, and I just never heard of this before, so this is interesting.
I know quite a few pros that are grabbing this light and really loving it.
Yeah, they're not cheap. $1,200 for a battery pack and a 500 watt second strobe. All right.
Yeah, I got mine for $1,050.
Nice. With the battery pack. So you have that battery pack on your side, and you've got a guy holding your light on the stick.
Well, I let them hold the battery pack with them and let them move around. They're, a voice activated light stand.
Yeah.
Over here, pick up higher.
Sorry, are you using infrared, not infrared, but radio slaves?
Yeah, the Photix Indra, the new one that came out. I was holding off on buying this because I knew that Photix had been saying they're going to come out with a new controller for over a year. And I waited for them to bring that out before I pulled the trigger on it. And it's real sweet. It's got 5 groups, real easy to adjust. I love it so far.
It's all built in.
And I did all this with TTL.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
I'm looking at the unit.
So anyway, let's look at.
Just let me talk about that. Just a little bit, real quick. I'm at B&H Photo right now. I'm looking at the unit. It says I'm just looking at the back of the unit because I got all these pictures, and there's the setting there. It says 1/128th, so that means you could turn it down to like 1/128th of a power setting. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's that's quite the range.
And it's got high speed sync too, so I can go up to 1/8,000ths with my shutter speed.
Yeah, and you had it on TTL, so it'll work through your camera, the 800, on TTL on location.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the girl that was using my light, she'd never done that before, so that's why I put it on TTL, because I didn't want to have to explain to her all she had to do. I just wanted to give her the light, point it at those people, and let it work.
Point and shoot, man. Make it happen. All right. Yeah. Do you know? You seem to be familiar with these flashes. Do they have the same model but in a smaller output?
Yes, they do. They have the Indra 360.
Okay.
Which it's not much less than this.
Okay.
It's like 900.
Okay.
So it's not much less, and so I figured most anybody can do it would spend the extra $200 and get the 500. So yeah, they do.
When you bought it, did you have to buy the trigger separate, or does it come with the trigger?
Yes. No, triggers are not with it. Yeah, the trigger was $200.
Okay, cool. There we go.
The receiver's built into the light, so you don't have to buy a receiver. But they do have receivers that I can use with my Nikon flashes that work TTL also.
Yeah.
And I got 2 of those.
Which models are those?
It's the Odin 2 receiver.
Okay. That'll work. It'll work with the Nikon as well.
Yeah, it works with my Nikon flashes.
All right, cool. And since you're Nikon, you can use it with this flash, or you can use it with your Nikon flashes. It's pretty all around.
Yeah, I can blend the 2 together.
Nice. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So that's exactly what I was looking for. I didn't want to have to give up one to use the other. So
this is pretty cool. High-speed flash. I love it. How come I haven't heard of this before? I just don't.
I don't know. It's really a pretty popular brand.
Yeah, it's got a lot of power. If you needed a lot of juice on location, it's all in there. If you needed to go TTL, it's all in there. And if you needed, sometimes I just need a little bit of light, just a little puck, and it go down to 1/128. That's pretty cool. So, all right, I'm getting way off topic here, but people love to hear stuff oftentimes about the technologies available, and guys like me who don't always keep up with it, like, who knew? Thanks for sharing that. So, TTL. All right. So what do you got on the screen now?
Well, this is just some more of this cowboy gathering I did. I just asked guys to come and sit in the chair in front of your wagon, and I mean the stuff that you can see. I didn't have to do. Well, I made the picture. My post processing, you can tell I tried to make it look a little more old timey than it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these guys look great. Their wagons look great. Look, they had the furs and stuff, the leathers, and they were all decked out. And that thing off to on the right side of the picture, that's a jack for the wagon. These guys are really period. They try and get everything exactly right.
They're
and
legit.
So it's really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Same wagon, different guy.
Cool. Are you shooting this for passion or profit or both?
Well, I typically shoot for fun,
Uh-huh.
but there are some people that see my stuff and